South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers,
It's good!
and Flyers.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the night of the 2021 NFL Draft. Tonight, you can hear all the coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And as you're watching live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, we will have coverage tonight on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter with myself, Andy McNamara, Mike Gill, Casey Joyner, all checking in all night long for the first round of the NFL Draft. So we got a lot to get to this hour. Ian Fitzsimmons, who's part of the ESPN radio coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN, he will join us coming up in about 20 minutes from now to get into some of the prospects that are going to be picked in tonight's draft. Also, we have to get into the Eagles' options for tonight. And if you were listening to me just a little bit ago, I told Mike Gill that I genuinely believe that as of right now, I have a feeling where the Eagles are going. It's not going to be exciting. But you know what? It's going to be probably the smart move. It's going to be probably the safe move, but people are not going to like it. So we'll get into all of those details coming up. You can text in 609-403-0973. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can comment onto the show. We're only here for an hour till 7 p.m. Then we take a break. Then we'll be back on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter tonight. Just follow at 973 ESPN or go to 973ESPN.com to watch the live stream starting at 8 p.m. But right now, I want to give you guys a quick synopsis about what has happened since the last time we talked last night. And it all starts with the Aaron Rodgers news. And it starts with the Aaron Rodgers news because I don't think it's a coincidence that this news came on tonight. So let me ask you this question. If, and I say if, Aaron Rodgers is available for trade, that totally changes what quarterback gets picked where. Because there are 5 quarterbacks to be had in this draft, but there's only one Aaron Rodgers. And if you're an NFL team, you got to make a decision right now. Because if you're a team like the 49ers or a team like the Patriots or a team like the Broncos, all right, you're not going to potentially have a high pick next year. So it's either you trade this pick or you don't trade this pick right here, right now. There is a possibility, not a strong possibility, but there is a realistic possibility that Aaron Rodgers gets traded today. And if he doesn't get traded today, then I think it's very unlikely he gets traded at all. Because if you're the Packers and you have a chance to walk away with the 3rd pick or the 15th pick or anything in between, and you accept anything less than that, you're an idiot. I mean, we know the Packers are idiots anyway, because they're the only franchise that I can think of in NFL history that has gone out of their way to basically undermine 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks who have won league MVPs, who have won Super Bowls, and Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, both of them had to watch their team draft a quarterback in the first round instead of getting more help for them. Aaron Rodgers could have been in the Super Bowl last year if his coach made a different decision. He could have been in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago if his team had better weapons around him. But instead, this organization continues to want to undermine him. So if you're a team out there that's going to say, hey, man, We're serious about Aaron Rodgers, and if you believe the reports out there, Rodgers wants to go to either. And if you believe these reports, I don't know. I don't know how valid these reports are. I feel like sometimes I see this stuff and I just don't know what to do with it. But there is a report circulating around right now that the 49ers are one of the teams that Aaron Rodgers wants to go to. Okay, I guess. There's another report out there that Rodgers would be interested in going to the Raiders. Okay, I'm not fully sure why, but okay. There's also a report out there that Rodgers would be interested in going to the Broncos. Now, supposedly, again, according to who you ask and what reporter, if those are the three teams that's on Rodgers' wish list, and if you're the Packers, how do you say no to the third overall pick? And if the 49ers trade the third overall pick for Aaron Rodgers, let me tell you something. You are going to see quarterbacks fall in this draft, and you're going to see teams scrambling to trade up. I told you guys yesterday, picks 4 through 9 are open season right now. And if Rodgers goes to a team like the 49ers, a team like the Eagles can sit back and let chaos happen in front of them. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Also, we'll take you guys' thoughts and comments as you watch on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right here on 97.3 ESPN. Okay, we got Ian Fitzsimmons, ESPN radio host, college football reporter, joining us coming up in about 12 minutes from now. I want to hear from you guys as well as we go on throughout the show here on 97.3 ESPN. What should the Eagles do? Whether it's an Aaron Rodgers trade or not, there is talk. There is conversation. The Eagles got to make a decision, whatever that decision is. And I think it's going to be impacted by what happens ahead of them. There is going to be things that happen from picks 3 through 9 that are going to be out of their control. As of right now, I believe the Eagles are leaning offensive or defensive line. I don't think it's a coincidence that there are multiple reports out there right now, whether it's Stacey Dales of NFL Network, whether it's someone like Jay Glazer of Fox Sports, whether it's even the guys from the Inside the Birds podcast, Jeff Mosher, Adam Kaplan. There's a lot of rumors out there about Kwity Paye. There's a lot of talk out there about Rashawn Slater. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Eagles talked offensive line at their press conference last week, which means you're not getting a cornerback, you're not getting a wide receiver, you're not getting Micah Parsons. You're going with the boring, unexciting guy, and that is an offensive or defensive lineman. And I think on one hand, I think that if I'm an Eagles fan looking at that, and if that happens, I'm thinking I'm underwhelmed. But at least I know that you're going with consistency, which is I at least know you're going for a player that is consistent with your history, because they've had success with the lines. Guys like Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. Derek Barnett has not been a bust. He's just been not at the production level of a first-round pick, right? You would hope for a lot more from him than what he's given you so far. Josh Sweat has turned out in the later rounds. They have a history of drafting guys like Isaac Seumalo and Halapuli Vati Vaitai and Jordan Mailata. So if they go offensive or defensive line, I don't think it's the end of the day. I certainly wouldn't be thrilled by it. I think they need cornerback. But hey, I'm sitting here talking to you guys, not in the Eagles war room. So we are counting down all together, and 97.3 ESPN will have your coverage all night long. 609-403-0973 is the text board again on the conversation. If if you're listening on the radio or on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app for all your Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, Phillies coverage, high school sports, and more. You can customize your alerts right now with the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Download for free from the Google Play or Apple Store. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Josh Hennig live in the Matt Black Kia studios on 97.3 ESPN. Matt Black Kia, they only get you approved today. Matt Black Kia on the Black Horse Bike in Egg Harbor Township. Visit them online at mattblackkia.com. Let's get to a couple of you guys who are commenting on the stream. If you watch on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We got a shout out from San Diego over here. What's up, San Diego? Hello, San Diego. I just want to know, is that George Lopez or Jorge Lopez? Because I've known two different people who have that exact same spelling. One guy told me his name was George, and the other guy told me it was Jorge. I'm just curious, Lopez. Let me know. Jeff Bonin Pookie says, I just want Surtain. I hear you. I completely hear you. I want him or J.C. Horn. To me, you're in a division where you got to see Kenny Galladay, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Who the heck's guarding all those guys? But fine, go get offensive and defensive line. That's how I feel. But I'm telling you what the Eagles think. Because the Eagles don't think like you and me. For whatever reason, they value certain positions way more than other people do. I may not like it. I may not love it. I may not be on board with it, but that's the reality. But I'm with you, Jeff Bonin Pookie. I would love to see Surtain the second, actually, in an Eagles uniform. Couple more comments here on YouTube as you guys are watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Also, you comment if you're listening on the radio or on the app at 609-403-0973. Jersey Pieces, I really like Waddle. No on Rodgers. He's too old, and we're not even close to Super Bowl if he was. Yes. Well, first of all, I don't think the Eagles are trading for Rodgers. First of all, he's not on the reported wish list for Rodgers. That's why I didn't even mention Rodgers for the Eagles. I think the Eagles, now the Eagles do have the draft capital to go get him because in theory, they could trade 3 first-round picks to get him. But I think the Eagles are more likely to trade back to get another first-round pick for next year or stay at 12 or trade up. I don't see them moving for Rodgers. I feel like the Rodgers situation is specifically going to be somebody like the 49ers, the Broncos, the Raiders, maybe the Patriots. I think those teams are kind of in the conversation. Rodgers is a West Coast guy. We know that he grew up being a 49ers fan. He loves being in the Western time zones. It's closer to where he grew up. Probably it just makes more sense for those teams anyway. I'm still curious why the Raiders. I feel like that's a strange one, but all right. So you don't have to worry about Rodgers. The problem with Waddle, and I understand Jersey P, you say we got no wide receiver, which I don't think is fair. Jalen Reagor was injured part of last year. You had Travis Fulgham for 5 games. He played well, and then you benched him for Alshon Jeffrey because Doug Peterson was so loyal to his older players. He basically threw away a young man's confidence and consistency for an entire year. It's probably one of the reasons why Doug Peterson was fired, was because Jeffrey Lurie didn't like the answer that Doug Peterson gave him about Travis Fulgham and Alshon Jeffrey. Greg Ward is a productive slot receiver for you. You have Dallas Goedert out there. It's not that you don't have any wide receivers, but you don't have that top tier receiver. Now, you can win in the NFL without an elite receiver. If you remove last year's Buccaneers team, which I think is more about Tom Brady than it was about his receivers, the majority of the time, you don't see first-round wide receivers in the Super Bowl. So I understand the idea is the Eagles don't have a number one target receiver. They don't have an X receiver. They don't have an elite receiver, whatever you want to call it. I get that. But I think that it's not the most pressing need. Okay? It's just not. The most pressing need for the Eagles is not wide receiver. Because one, you can find wide receiver later in the draft. You don't have to find it immediately in the first round. You can find a receiver in the second round. I love Rashad Bateman. I understand that Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith are phenomenally talented, but let's not act like that the league is full of guys who are drafted in the first round. If I may remind you guys of some receivers who were not drafted in the first round. Tyreek Hill. How about who's the receiver for the Packers? I just drew a blank. The starting receiver for the Packers was not drafted in the first round. Now I gotta look it up because I'm drawing a complete blank. This is embarrassing. Devontae Adams, not a first round pick. All right. Some other wide receivers that were not first round picks. Look around the league. Keenan Allen was a second round pick. You don't have to find a first round pick in the first round because guys like Odell Beckham Jr. and Julio Jones, they haven't won anything. I can find a wide receiver in the second round. Doesn't have to be Jalen Waddle, no matter how talented he is. All right, we got Ian Fitzsimmons from ESPN Radio as well as part of the ESPN Radio NFL draft coverage coming up next to get more into the draft prospects. Find out what he has to say about Justin Fields, Patrick Surtain II, and more coming up next here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. I'm Josh Hennig, hanging out with you here on a Thursday, the night of the 2021 NFL Draft first round.
So you ready for the draft? Let's get started.
The 2021 NFL Draft, live from Cleveland, Ohio. Join L. Duncan and Kevin Nagandi with instant pick-by-pick analysis from Mike Tannenbaum, Bart Scott, and Ian Fitzsimmons, plus Mel Kiper Jr.
This isn't Joe Montana getting speed made
NFL
up.
draft is officially open.
NFL draft coverage on 97.3 ESPN is brought to you by GMS Law. Make the right call to GMS Law.
0 down payment, 0% financing, and $2,500 off MSRP on every 2021 Nissan Murano in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
The word is out. The all-new Matt Blatt Nissan and the all-new 2021 Nissan Rogue. Lease a loaded SV model, just $269 per month with 0 security deposits. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan needs your trade. Even if you owe more than it's worth, pay 0 down, pay 0% financing, and take $2,500 off MSRP on every new Nissan Murano in stock, plus our fast-track checkout. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Nissan in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot or online at mattblattnissan.com.
Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. 0% APR financing based on 1667 per thousand borrowed. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 5/4/21.
It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
On some models, excludes Corvette with GM financing. Excludes prior sales. See dealer for details.
It's Bennett Chevrolet's Spring into Savings Super Sale. This month, you'll get Bennett's famous GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys, and you keep all the rebates up to a 25% discount on some models. There's no need to negotiate. Just get here and get your new Chevy at the GM supplier employee price, and you keep all the rebates up to a 25% discount. There's another way to save big with Bennett's available 0% financing. Plus, Bennett's paying a minimum $7,000 for any trade you can bring us, regardless of condition. That's a minimum $7,000 for any vehicle towards any pre-owned on our lot. Imagine how much more we'll pay for your good quality trade. And because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend, there's never any sales pressure and never any negotiating needed. No stress, no hassles, no haggles. Just your best car buying experience ever. Find new roads at Bennett Chevrolet, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, the 2021 NFL Draft. You hear all the coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN. And the man who's a part of that coverage, he's also the co-host of Freddie and Fitzsimmons right here on 97.3 ESPN Radio Monday through Friday nights. He is Ian Fitzsimmons, as all guests appearing on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Ian, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, but how are you?
I'm doing good, and you are the person I wanted to talk to the most this week because you know these prospects. You know these men. You don't just know about them. You know them. And I got to get your perspective on how do you feel this draft cycle has been to these young men? Because these are young men. They've worked their entire lives, and it feels like some of them, like Justin Fields, they're being overly nitpicked, even almost more so than we've seen guys in the past.
I think the biggest thing in talking to several general managers around the league and also a lot of the scouts that have a ton of contact with these guys traditionally, they haven't had as much contact with every prospect because of COVID. You go back to the Senior Bowl, you're looking at scouts, general managers, head coaches, talking to every prospect through, a divider, and everyone's wearing masks. And some of these questions that they ask these guys to get to know the person and their mental makeup, they're asking a question to see if a guy smirks, frowns, laughs. That kind of thing. And you really didn't be able to gauge certain things this year because of COVID. You weren't able to be on campuses as much because of COVID. So this is one of the more unknowns when it comes to this draft for the prospects and the teams. It's like what Saints general manager Mickey Loomis said yesterday. This may be a kind of like the wild, wild west starting in the mid of the second round because you depending on which general manager or scout you talk to, some guys have I take Kwity Paye from Michigan. I talked to one NFL scout that has a first round grade on him. I talked to another that has a third round grade on him. And because they weren't able to see them in person nearly as much, and you weren't able to get to know the person nearly as much as you have in years past. So this one's going to be a bit of a shootout, man, and a bit of a crapshoot because of that very thing. They didn't have the contact that they traditionally and the access that they're allowed.
I know you guys talked with Quincy Avery over on your show, Freddie and Fitzsimmons, this week, and one of the things he mentioned was it was really strange people asking him about Justin Fields' work ethic, and it makes me shake my head, Ian, because I remember years ago, when it was QB 11, it was Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields all the way through. And now all of a sudden we're coming to the draft and it's almost getting that feeling like he may be this draft's Aaron Rodgers. He may be the guy that ends up in a perfect situation and turns into that Hall of Fame type player.
When it comes to Justin Fields, and people say he's dropping on draft boards, one GM told me yesterday, which draft boards is he dropping on? Because we still have him ranked as a number 2 quarterback prospect behind Trevor Lawrence. But they don't. This one particular team doesn't need a quarterback. But you evaluate and rank them anyway to do due diligence, and they have him ranked number 2. And it was a very pointed and interesting question. Which draft boards? Mocks? Public? Just the public perception that he's dropping. And remember this, man. This week in particular, it's lying season. Forget talking season. That's been going on for a month and a half. Now it's just flat out lying season. You got agents trying to drive their clients up while driving other clients down. They'll throw misinformation out there. You have some teams that will get creepy and throw misinformation about a player out there to try and drive the prospect down to them because they want them. So when it comes to Fields and his work ethic, I saw him in person 4 different times. Once at Georgia, 3 times playing for the Buckeyes. And you talk to anybody on Ohio State staff, you talk to anybody on Georgia's staff, from Kirby Smart to now Arkansas head coach Sam Pittman, or Mel Tucker, the head coach of Michigan State. All of them will tell you his work ethic is unparalleled. I mean, as good as anybody out there. And then you had the misinformation being thrown out, as far not just work ethic, but also, he has a hitch in his delivery because of baseball. He was an All-American high school baseball player. That's all just BS, man. The dude can just play. That's all there is to it. So when it comes to him falling, I thought that one GM that had a great question for me, and I didn't have an answer because like he said, on his board, he hadn't fallen a bit.
Ian Fitzsimmons, co-host of Freddie and Fitzsimmons, Monday through Friday here on ESPN Radio, joining us on the Boardwalk Kind of Hotline. He is a integral part of ESPN Radio's NFL draft coverage Thursday, Friday nights, and then Saturday all day right here on 97.3 ESPN. Ian, staying in the big name guys in this draft, and here in Philadelphia area, there's a lot of talk being made about Patrick Surtain II and J.C. Horn. I know a lot of people know that they are the sons of NFL pedigree, but what else can you tell people about those 2 young men?
Well, Surtain is a plug-and-play ready player, as is J.C. Horn. Let's start with Surtain. I had to cover Alabama spring game, and talking to some strength and conditioning coaches there at Bama, you talk about work ethic, again, second to none. And he's been groomed for this. His dad was one heck of a cover corner for over a decade in the National Football League, and Patrick Surtain Sr. And his son, let me tell you, man, he's not a very vocal guy. He doesn't talk a lot. He's almost an introvert off the field, but on the field, I mean, he's just he's a bad man. He hates to lose a single rep in any practice. His roommate was Jason Waddle. That's his best friend. And if you don't know who Jason Waddle is, you're not a college football fan. He's one of the best wide receivers out there in this particular group. They've been roommates for years, and they go at it. I mean, at 5 a.m. wake-up calls to go run routes, sprints, who can run more stadiums, to video games back at their house. And Surtain is an absolute technician that wants to win on every snap. He's plug-and-play ready, as is J.C. Horn. Now, with the Eagles being there at 12, I don't know if either one of these guys is going to be there. But if one is, it might be Surtain. And here's the reason. At 10, the Cowboys, with Will McClay, the director of player ops, he's kind of more in control of the draft now, even though Jerry will tell you he is. Will McClay and Steven have really taken the reins on this thing and relying on their scouts and actually football people making football decisions. There is a connection here between Dan Quinn, the new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, and Will Muschamp. They go back a long ways. Will Muschamp, the former head coach of South Carolina. So there's a J.C. Horn connection. Also, Mike McCarthy, head coach now of the Cowboys, he was the offensive coordinator for 4 years when Joe Horn was with the New Orleans Saints. So you have J.C.'s dad and the head coach, and then the defensive coordinator and Horn's coach at South Carolina that have a deep connection. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys at 10 have best player available and need meet, which is ideal for any team. And if they win Horn over Surtain, which means if the Eagles are looking corner, they're going to get one heck of a playmaker. Neither one of those guys. But if Surtain falls to them, that's a matter from football heaven.
That'd be an incredible scenario for the Eagles. I know some Eagle fans, it's not sexy cornerback, but to me, it's a desperate need. You're in a division where you have all these great wide receivers. Somebody's got to guard those guys. Ian Fitzsimmons joining us here on the Boardwalk on the Hotline here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Ian, you mentioned the connective tissue. I want to know what your thoughts are on the 49ers at 3. To me, I look at John Beck being the quarterback coach at that pro day. I look at Kyle Shanahan being there. I look at Jordan Matthews, who played for Kyle Shanahan, being at that pro day. I feel like there's all these flags about Trey Lance to the 49ers, but the reports out there saying that Mac Jones could be the guy. What do you think is going to happen at 3?
Outside of Quincy Avery, you mentioned he is an outstanding quarterback coach who's worked with the likes of Justin Fields and Trey Lance right now, along with guys like Deshaun Watson. I mean, he also has Jalen Hurts. So Avery has coached some and is coaching some really good quarterbacks, obviously. He said that Trey Lance from the neck up is the most polished NFL-ready quarterback he has had come to him at the age of 20. He said it's absolutely remarkable. And you talk to the coaches at North Dakota State, they would allow Trey Lance to actually make calls himself during the games. And not just, in 2-minute drill. I mean, just go ahead and take over, because he had that good of a feel for what he saw defensively and being able to read and make the right checks. Having said all of that, who can do that as well? Mac Jones at Alabama. And there's no doubt in my mind that the reason they made this move initially was to go and get Mac Jones. And a lot of people, you talk about talking season and lying season and misinformation being thrown out there. Well, a lot of people are talking about Mac Jones like he can't walk and chew gum without tripping over his own 2 feet because he's so unathletic. Mac Jones is a pretty good athlete. As a matter of fact, his 40 time was better than Josh Allen and coming out of Wyoming for the Buffalo Bills. Now, I'm not comparing the two as far as athleticism goes, but you don't play quarterback by just being an athlete and running in a straight line. The man completed nearly 75% of his passes in the SEC for over 4,500 yards, over 40 touchdowns, and only 4 INTs. You're not doing that in that conference without being able to have some escapability and being an athlete. So I think the initial move was to get Mac Jones. I think that's the guy Kyle Shanahan wants, because he reminds him of Matt Ryan. But I do think there has been some debate in the room between Lance and Mac Jones as to who they take at 3. I still think it's going to be Mac Jones.
He is Ian Fitzsimmons, part of the NFL draft coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN. First, second rounds, Thursday, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, starting at 12 p.m. He's also the co-host of Freddie and Fitzsimmons, heard Monday through Friday right here on 97.3 ESPN. As all guests, he appeared right here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Ian, love the insights. We're looking forward to the coverage this weekend.
My man, be well. Thanks for the time as always. Take care.
Josh Hennig back here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, our draft coverage and our conversation with Ian Fitzsimmons being brought to you by GMS Law. Make the right call to GMS Law with 4 convenient locations to serve you. Visit them online at gmslaw.com. A lot to digest there from Ian Fitzsimmons, but I'll say this before we get back to your guys' thoughts and comments. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Also, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can watch the show here on 97.3 ES. Forget to hear your comments. I thought the comment about J.C. Horn was interesting, because if the Cowboys go with him at 10 and Patrick Surtain is dropping to you at 12, there's no reason for you to trade up. To me, the only reason why you're trading up is you're targeting somebody that you can guarantee will not be available for you. Maybe the Eagles love J.C. Horn more than they love Patrick Surtain, and they know the Cowboys are going to go get him. Maybe they jump to 9 or to 8 or to 7 and get him there. Some people might say that's a reach, but you do that sometimes. You also think about what he said about, a guy like Patrick Surtain, the hard worker that he is. To me, I would be happy with either one of those players for the Eagles, but I just got this dirty feeling in my gut that this organization is going to go in a different direction than the cornerbacks that I think they should go for. So, but again, we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. 97.3 ESPN has your coverage of the NFL draft. ESPN radio coverage begins at the top of the hour, 7 p.m. Or you could tune in to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter as you're watching right now. Some of you are. Myself and others. We got Andy McNamara from Sportsnet joining us tonight. Mike Gill, host of the Sports Bash, joining us. The football scientist, Casey Joyner. They will all join us at 8 o'clock tonight. Go to 973ESPN.com to catch the full video, or you can jump on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're going to get to your guys' comments. I got comments on YouTube. I got comments on the text board. We're going to get to all of them coming up next. Who do you think the Eagles will take? Who should they take? I'll let you know what I think about what you think and more coming up. Also, I'll give you a quick rundown how I think the draft is going to play out tonight, because this is probably going to be the most unpredictable draft in NFL history, but I have a few theories. I'll run them by you guys coming up next here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It's the 2021 NFL Draft exclusively on 97.3 ESPN. Who will the Eagles take with the 12th pick? Tune in to 97.3 ESPN to find out. Round 1 coverage begins tonight at 7 p.m. Tune in for every selection and every draft day trade. It's the 2021 NFL Draft, and it's only on South Jersey's exclusive radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. 97.3 ESPN.
Time is running out for the Jeep Celebration event at Kendall Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. If you love Jeep, join the celebration with 0% APR for 84 months with Chrysler Capital Financing on selected Jeep Cherokee, Compass, and Renegade models. And check out the amazing lease deals on Jeep Wrangler, Compass, Grand Cherokee, Renegade, and Gladiator. Need a truck for work or play? It's Ram Truck Month at Kendall. Get the Ram 1500, the most awarded light-duty truck in America, with 0% APR for 72 months. Plus $1,000 bonus cash, plus $500 Chrysler Capital bonus cash when you finance through Chrysler Capital at Kendall. Ram Truck Month and the Jeep Celebration event are almost over, but don't worry. Kendall still has the largest selection of Jeeps and Rams on their huge 100-acre lot just off exit 10 of the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard. The only place to get your Jeep or Ram. Kendall Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 609-465-5000 or shop from home at KendallDodge.net. See Kindle for details.
Spring into savings with Viking Pest Control. Save on mosquito and tick control, termites, spotted lanternflies, and bat exclusion during Viking Pest Control Spring Savings Event. Get a fast, free quote at VikingPest.com. That's VikingPest.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll be getting back to your thoughts and comments in just a moment at 609-403-0973. If you're listening on 97.3 ESPN FM or on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, we'll get to your comments as well coming up here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. One thing I love about FanDuel Sportsbook is same game parlays, baseball, basketball, whatever the sport may be during the football season. It's a great thing as well. You can take player props, spreads, game lines, over-unders, combine them into a same game parlay. You can get more bang out of your buck. Bigger payout than a regular bet with same game parlays. And right now, new and existing users get up to $25 back in site credit each day your parlay falls one leg short with same game parlay insurance. That's right, every single day. And new users right now get up to $1,000 back if their first bet doesn't win in site credit. So if we get on all the action with FanDuel Sportsbook, use my promo code Hennig and sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app or go to sportsbook.fanduel.com to get in on the action with the promo code Hennig with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play. President NJRPA refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund on same game parlay insurance $25. Terms apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's get to your guys' thoughts and comments here as you guys are listening. Let's get to the text board first. We get back to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We got a Rich in the Villa says, linemen would certainly be anticlimactic for the Eagles in the first round. Without a shadow of a doubt, we need another cornerback. Too many decent receivers in our division. Interested to see how the first 6 picks play out. Rich also goes on to say that will determine the direction the Eagles move. I agree with you, Rich. I think that we're underplaying the fact that the Eagles are going to sit back and let the chaos happen in front of them. They got out of 6 in part because they wanted to avoid the chaos. They didn't want to be in the middle of the mess. They wanted to remove themselves from the dumpster fire that is the chaos. So when you think about it, you got a situation where if you're the Eagles, you got to consider the fact that this team, they're going to let things happen in front of them, and then they're going to make a decision after that. And you're right. It's anticlimactic to go that direction. But you know what? It is what it is. I agree with you. They need cornerback. But you know what? They might go offensive line, defensive line, and we'll all just be sitting there shrugging our shoulders and hoping the second round is any better. Don't forget, if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can watch our full draft coverage with 97.3 ESPN tonight with myself, Andy McNamara from Sportsnet, Sports Bash with Mike Gill, and the football scientist, NFL insider Casey Joyner tonight at 8 o'clock. Just go to 973ESPN.com for more details. Get some of your comments over here on YouTube. 3-card Monty chimes in and says, no Sidney Jones or projects tonight. I'd be happy with Smith, Waddle, Surtain, or Horn. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of those guys. I think that what gets overlooked in this draft is that I think that all 3 of those guys are going to be NFL players, just at different degrees. If you had to press me who is potentially going to be the best player of those 4, I think it's going to be Surtain or Horn. I think Surtain and Horn both have, perennial Pro Bowl caliber talent and potentially all pro talent. Waddle and Smith, I think it depends on the offenses they end up in. If they end up in an offense that uses them correctly, I think they both can be very good. I think that Smith and Waddle, I don't think either one of them are true number one receivers, though. I think they are guys that need a team. Like, for example, Tyreek Hill is the number one receiver in Kansas City. Travis Kelce is. And Kelce being the number one receiver, primary target on a lot of plays, opens the field up more for Tyreek Hill. I think that Waddle is a little more like a Tyreek Hill-ish. He's somewhere in between Tyreek Hill and T.Y. Hilton in his prime. That's who Waddle is in my eyes. I know one compares Devonta Smith to Marvin Harrison. I feel like that's kind of an easy, cheap way of getting around having to do a real analysis. I think Devonta Smith is a little closer, at least in my opinion, to if Marcus Colston was a better athlete. Okay. I think that's who Devonta Smith is. I think that he's a guy who's going to be a possession receiver. He doesn't drop balls. He's going to be Mr. Consistent. He's going to be a guy who's going to get you first downs, touchdowns. If you need him in a pinch, he's going to be there. So I just don't think that Smith or Waddle, unless they end up in the right situation, are going to end up being perennial Pro Bowl level receivers unless they end up in the right situation. I think we forget a lot of times that if players don't end up in a good situation, then they have less productivity. Like, for example, Sam Darnold got stuck in New York with a dumpster fire named Adam Gase. Now he's in Carolina with Joe Brady. Watch what happens. Watch how things get turned around. We see numerous times in NFL history, Kurt Warner, successful with the Rams, not successful with the Giants, successful with the Cardinals. Jim Plunkett, failed with the Patriots, won Super Bowls with the Raiders. Carson Palmer, some success with the Bengals, got injured, went to the Raiders, mess, goes to the Cardinals, almost gets to the Super Bowl. Same thing with players of other positions. You don't think that it matters what offense a receiver or a tight end or an offensive lineman or a running back is in, how it impacts them? I think it impacts them a lot. So to me, Waddle and Smith's future is very much dependent on what offense they end up in. Jeff Bonampuki follows up and says, I pretty much made a bet with my buddy that the Eagles would draft a defensive player at pick 12. My buddy says the Eagles are going to draft offensive player. Loser buys pizza. Not a bad bet. I would say that the problem is that I think we all know what the Eagles need, but are the Eagles going to get what they need? Now, I understand that the report by Stacey Dales from NFL Network is making the rounds right now. And there's a lot of people who are drawing a lot of conjecture on that report. The idea that they're not going to get, the perfect position to get the perfect player. First of all, does anybody really know what that means? That just sounds like a bunch of hogwash to me. What does that even mean? The perfect player at the perfect position. That sounds like one of those things that somebody says and nobody knows what to do with it, so we're just going to put it out as a report. The NFL Network people are usually very much on top of things, okay? Historically, they have a long history of not being sketchy with their reporting, unless it's with the Eagles. Remember how many times Ian Rappaport has gotten things wrong about the Eagles. And I understand Stacey Dales is on the ground talking to people in the Eagles organization. But, man, it just feels like that report is either telling you a lot of something or a lot of nothing. And as we get closer to the Eagles, I think that there's a possibility that they trade up or trade down. They don't stay at 12 at all. And I still think they could end up with a player at a position of need if they trade up or trade down. But, man, there is something to be said for the fact that the Eagles believe they want somebody to fit Nick Sirianni's program. And that's why I'm starting to wonder if they just go lines and just keep it simple. And I think we'll all be underwhelmed and disappointed by that. Because you can't go wrong with offensive and defensive linemen as long as they fit the system, right? Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, a draft conversation being brought to you by GMS Law. Make the right call to GMS Law with 4 convenient locations to serve you. Visit them online at gmslaw.com. I mean, it's just getting wild. By the way, shout out to Jeremy, the Browns fan, watching on YouTube. Listen, the Browns, they made the playoffs last year. The Eagles didn't. First time in a long time that's happened. A really long time. I think the last time that the Browns made the playoffs and the Eagles did was the mid-90s when Belichick was there. So good for you, Jeremy. Go cheer for your Browns. Be happy. Have a good time. All right, we're wrapping up the show here. I'm going to be live on the YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter streams tonight. Just follow 97.3 ESPN or just go to 97.3ESPN.com where we will be live on the streams myself. I'll be joined by Andy McNamara, Mike Gill, as well as Casey Joyner. We'll have all thoughts and comments. We'll have immediate reactions to everything that happens in the draft tonight. So you can watch the stream. You can join in the conversation. I love it when you guys interact with us. It's going to be a good time tonight. We're going to have a little fun. Take ourselves overly seriously. We're trying to give you as much information as possible. I would say as of right now, if the Eagles stay at 12, they're taking an offensive or defensive lineman. If they trade up or trade down, they're going to go to corner. That's going to be my gut feeling as of right now at 6:54 on Thursday. What will happen? We'll find out. Keep it tuned to 97.3 ESPN.
It's your chance to win Sports Bash Cash up to $10,000. Enter the code words every day at 973ESPN.com or with the free mobile app. The more codes you enter, the more chances you have to win up to $10,000. Here's the Sports Bash Cash code word.
SOAP, SOAP. SOAP. Enter it now on our website, 973ESPN.com, or use the free mobile app. Sports Bash Cash is brought to you by Jersey Shore Federal Credit Union for all your lending needs. Get the next Sports Bash Cash code word tomorrow morning at 9:55.
It's Sports Bash Cash 10 times a day, every weekday at 55 after each hour from 9:55 a.m. to 6:55 p.m. Listen all day for your chance to win Sports Bash Cash up to $10,000.